Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Awthentik and The Beard. This is the Parlay, your go-to for last-minute fantasy football advice, and we are doing rapid fire where we pick each and every single game in week 3 in the NFL, and I am super excited. There is a ton of really good games and a ton of crazy fantasy football plays this week. Without further ado, let me bring in the man, the myth, the Twitter legend himself. Awthentik is in the building, ladies and gentlemen.
My man said the Twitter legend himself. Hey, my Twitter been on fire, man. People be hitting me up mad bitter, man. But you know what it is, man. These people on Twitter, I don't even know who they are, but they know me. They definitely know me, man. It's a wild factor. But how your morning been so far, brother?
Listen, I've been trying to get these lineups constructed. I am hurting at the running back position in season-long fantasy football. I've been trying to put together some lineups on DraftKings and, some overs and some unders. So I've been fiddling with a lot of stuff. This is an interesting day when it comes to fantasy football, especially for like the daily fantasy sports, because you got a lot of the big name quarterbacks and offenses playing today in the 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock games. So it's going to be interesting. And, it always sucks when one of the top fantasy prospects is playing your team. So I'm
big facts. Big facts.
But it's interesting because you can kind of play that two ways. I fiddled with a lot of Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts lineups today just because, Carson Wentz is performing like a top fantasy quarterback so far this year. And obviously Jalen Hurts is right now currently the number 3 fantasy quarterback so far this season. Shout out to the Beard who tweeted out before the season even started, Jalen Hurts is going to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback this year, so it's going to be a wild day today. I got my eye on a few injuries, so the injury report should be coming out in about 25 minutes or so. So I think I saw Marjorie in the building, so hopefully she'll be dropping some Marjorie gems, Marjorie bombs. We'll call them Marge bombs.
Marge bombs. I like that.
There we go. I like it a lot. Shout out to everybody who is watching us right now on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and of course here on YouTube. Don't forget to smash that thumbs up. Also subscribe if you guys aren't subscribed already. Tell a friend to tell a friend that Awthentik and The Beard is back again. Also, if you got any fantasy football questions, don't forget to drop those in the chat. We will be answering all of your fantasy football questions periodically throughout the stream. And then at the end of the show, we'll make sure to get to every single question that we possibly can before we log off. We want to make sure we give you guys ample time to get all this advice that we're about to give you and apply it to your fantasy football lineups, whether it's season-long, DraftKings, or FanDuel. We try to give you guys as much information as we possibly can. Let's go ahead and say a quick couple of shout-outs to the people in the chat, and then we'll go ahead and get to rocking and rolling. We got good news. Good news, okay? We're going to start the show off with good news. Jameson found his mom's phone. It was in the grass.
In the grass, though. Hey, that's what's up, man. Yo, hey. I was talking to Chris last night. He told me he was flying his drone with his nephew, and they crashed the drone, and they couldn't find it for like a good hour. Finally, he heard like a little kind of beep, and it was up in the tree, and he had to, climb that tree and go get that drone. But he said it successfully got back to his nephew and whatnot, but that kind of reminds me of Jameson's mom's phone right there one time in the grass.
We are glad to see that you found the phone, JMO. Coach Taylor's
shout
in the
out
JMO, man. Big shout out to James Williams. He was here early. Says he just wants to see y'all win. My brother's Awthentik and The Beard. We appreciate the support for sure. We also had some interesting words for Wan'Dale Robinson as well.
He did. I think, he is a little guy, got injured on his first reception, that's wild, man. But a lot of people in the Giants community are saying, how did we pass up on George Pickens and scoop up Wan'Dale Robinson? I hope for the future, man. I just want to see a bigger sample size, as we've been talking about this past week. Sure. So we'll see what it is, man. I think Wan'Dale can make some plays. Oh,
I did have to give a big shout out to Albert Pujols, who hit home run number 700 this weekend.
I did see.
He's now the 4th person in the history of baseball. We all know baseball goes back hundreds and hundreds of years. Only the 4th person to hit 700 home runs with Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, and now Albert Pujols. So I'm working on dropping a video. I got an Albert Pujols autographed baseball bat.
Oh,
So
yeah, I remember that. We almost put that in the intro that one time.
Yeah, so I'm working on a video for the Over the Year Sports channel, about ready to get back into action on that channel and put in some work. But yeah, big shout out to him. And then I had to shout out Stephen F. Austin, the college football score of the week yesterday. It was 98-0. They put up 98 points yesterday. And they
what's his name?
No, this is a team. Stephen F. Austin,
the team is Stephen F. Austin.
They outscored their opponent 98-0 yesterday. They had 4 quarterbacks throw touchdowns yesterday. 4 quarterbacks throw touchdowns.
That is crazy. Just having 4 quarterbacks is crazy. Having 4 of them throw a touchdown is ridiculous.
Big shout out to everybody's favorite GQ name. Edward Squires is in the building. Big shout out to David. David came through and represented in the for the Awthentik and The Beard community in my Whatnot sale. Copped some dope hats and some dope t-shirts. So hopefully you are happy with those when they get to you, my friend. Who else we got in the chat? Got to give a big shout out to Kai. Kai holding it down for the Dallas Cowboys in the Awthentik and The Beard chat always. Big shout out to Kai.
What up,
Lucas checking in from Australia. We got Lucas Squared. Lucas is here. He's like, yo, we're going to talk about Miami Dolphins. I got some Miami Dolphins in my key players for sure. Big shout out to Waterfly in the building as well. Shazad, I ain't seen Shazad in a long time. What's going on?
I haven't seen Shazad in a minute. What's up, fam?
How long does it take Tim to sort out his beard? Not as long as it takes me to sort out my top 3 fantasy quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs. But, you know, it depends on where I'm going. Big shout out to Cookie Monster. Always got to show some love to James Funk holding us down on Facebook as well. Lax Ofofo is in the building. Max wants to know.
Speaking of Lax Ofofo, right? Do you remember the movie with Dr. Dre, The Wash?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
it's like a remake of the original Car Wash.
Yeah, so you remember when he was cleaning out Shaq's car, and this was technology was at a whole different point at this time, but Shaq had like a voice-activated car phone, and he was sitting in the car, and he couldn't say 4. He was like, 4. And it was like the only number that the GPS system or whatever like couldn't read. And he was just like, 4. And it was like, excuse me, please say that again. He could not say 4. Reminds me of my man Lax Ofofo in the building one time.
Oh, nobody says 4 like we do here.
Yeah.
Authentic and
you know, in Baltimore, them twos.
I love listening to Scott Van Pelt do the Baltimore accents. Baltimore Orioles took a heartbreaking loss last night, 11-10. They gave up 4 runs in the 9th inning. We're 4 games back with, I think, 12 left to play. Trying to get that last wild card spot.
Gotta make that move. I thought about some white today, man. I didn't want to jinx it, Max. You know, the game is tomorrow. I'll be in all white tomorrow.
Till Monday, yeah. Definitely believe Authentic
and
will
if
be
we
all
win
white tomorrow.
I'm pulling up in that all white.
The wedding,
spiffy.
The African ceremony outfit.
The African ceremony outfit out here, dog. Let's go.
Jeff Maldo's in the building also. Let's get to our first question. From James Funk, Tua or Wentz, and should I sit Herbert and start Burrow? That is out the gate. James is giving us the hard questions. I mean, listen, Tua, I love Tua. Because a lot of people aren't going to play Tua because, you know, especially in daily because of what he did last week. A lot of people have trouble seeing people repeat performances when they have performances like that. Mm-hmm. Buffalo's defense is hurting right now. They put I forgot who they just put on the IR, but they're hurting in the secondary right now. And
they are.
I think that's going to be a fireworks matchup back and forth. So, but I mean, you have the same situation with Carson Wentz. I forgot my coin, but this is a coin flip. I think I'm going to start with. I think I would go Tua because I think Tua and Wentz are probably going to give you the same amount of points, but I think Wentz is more turnover prone than Tua is. So I would go Tua, and I think I would sit Justin Herbert and start Joe Burrow in this game. Obviously, in any other situation, I would probably pick Herbert over Burrow, but Herbert obviously dealing with the rib injury, and Burrow's playing the Jets. So I think it's a bounce-back week for Joe Burrow. That's where I stand.
I'm right there with you. You know, that's one of my sleepers at the quarterback position, coming back and getting his game right, is Joe Burrow. But the Tua or Wentz is very tricky, and I don't fault people for, like, not expecting a repeat type of performance from Tua. I think Wentz might have the more difficult matchup. You know, Philadelphia Eagles defense is supposed to be a lot better. They kind of got off to a shaky start here, allowing 2 teams to score over 30, I believe, right? No, just one team, the Detroit Lions. Minnesota only put up 7 on them. But I think I might go with Tua. Usually when the Kansas City Chiefs have a matchup where you think it's going to be a shootout, though, sometimes it falls a little bit flat. As far as the Herbert or Burrow, got to go Burrow, especially Herbert dealing with the ribs. He's questionable still, so it's going to be a game-time decision for Herbert if he's going to play. I'd keep Burrow right there, and, yeah, I think I keep Burrow in that game. I think I start Burrow in that one, and I go with Tua.
And big shout-out to everybody else who's in the chat. We got some people joining us late. Got to give a big shout-out to Entertainer. Says, stand up.
My guy, what's going on, man? He had a great stream last night, him and Bad Dog. They went for a bunch of hours, too, man, chopping it up on that Giants game. And he was talking about some of his superstitions about this all-white vibe because he's been wearing his Saquon Barkley jersey. He was talking about putting the Saquon jersey under the all-white. I like that vibe right there. We got to do whatever we can do to get this victory, man. 3-0 is staring us right in the face, man.
It's kind of crazy. And big shout out to my lovely wife, of course, who says Sunday, fun day. And then
wait, is Josie in the crib?
Josie is in the crib, yeah.
You got to give her them shout-outs in the crib. Like, what's up? You got to give her them kind of shout-outs.
A big shout-out to David for the $4.99 super chat. Says, I had a girl over yesterday, and she finessed the Sedona, Arizona shirt I bought from you.
Dang, early.
It was a dope shirt. Great colorway, super 90s.
Hey, that reminded me of that J. Cole line. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was like, when you leave, I'm going to need that shirt back.
Oh, yeah.
You know how I go. That's that kind of vibe right there. I hope you got some action over there, Dave.
One more question, and it's going to lead us into our first segment. So Simon says, fantasy question, Joe Burrow versus the Jets or Kyler Murray versus the Rams? I'll let Awthentik take this one first.
I like Burrow versus the Jets, man. The Jets, man, they in struggle mode. As far as against the run, too. And if you notice in the first 2 games with Joe Burrow, they struggled to get the running clicking, and I think that's a major part of his game. I'm starting to feel like Joe Burrow's the kind of quarterback that needs a little bit of help. You know, he needs some help from the wide receiver. Definitely a running game always helps the quarterback. I think you're going to see a great game out of Mixon today. In return, Joe Burrow should ball out. So I'm going Burrow on this one.
I'm also going to go Joe Burrow. I love Kyler Murray. Obviously, if you guys are new here, I like my quarterbacks to have legs, especially when we're talking about fantasy quarterbacks. But Kyler Murray against that Rams defense scares me a little bit. I know the Rams defense hasn't been particularly top-notch so far this season, but in that particular matchup, it does kind of scare me a little bit.
Wasn't that the playoff game where he got, like, completely shut out? That
was either the playoff game or the last game of the season where it was like win or get in, something like that sort of situation.
Yeah.
But, so that is going to lead us into our first segment. Don't forget to smash that thumbs up. Don't forget, we're going to try to get to as many questions as we can throughout the stream, but we will also be answering a ton of questions at the end of the show. So let's go ahead and talk about the quarterback position.
Let's get it. I was ready to get in that first game, but yeah, we definitely got to get these quarterbacks out the way. Facts, boy.
Man, some quarterbacks put up some crazy numbers in week 1. Lamar Jackson put up 42.62 points last week in PPR leagues. And then you had Tua put up 40.86. And the third highest scoring quarterback last week was Jalen Hurts with 34.02 fantasy points in PPR. So in this segment, if you guys are new here to the parlay, we're going to give you guys our top 3 fantasy quarterbacks. We're going to give you guys some sleepers, and we're going to give you guys a quarterback to sit. So I'm going to go ahead and just get this thing rocking and rolling. My top 3 quarterbacks, in no particular order, is going to be...
This is the first show of the year where we didn't discuss these before going on air.
We did
let's see how these go.
Before we do that, let's get to Lax Ofofo and his question from $4.99 super chat. We appreciate you. James Robinson or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Both of these guys have been playing sneakily well so far this season. They both got a lot of share opportunities, like with other running backs in the backfield. But I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I think, in this matchup. I think that the Jacksonville is going against the Chargers. Chargers defense is a little bit better this year, a bit better this year than they have been previously. He's sharing with Travis Etienne. I think you'll see Etienne on the field a little bit more because they'll probably be in more passing down situations. I think the Chiefs will probably be out in front of the Colts. So I'm going to go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be the start in this one.
I'm right there with you, man. And the Colts have just been underwhelming, like, on all aspects of the game, man. I think KC's going to go out there and put up big numbers today. You might see a big day from Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We'll see.
All right. My first quarterback, this is in no order. These are just the three guys who I think are going to finish in the top three as far as points go this week. Josh Allen. I mean, you can't talk about fantasy quarterbacks without talking about Josh Allen. I mean, the guy is on an absolute rampage so far this year. He's averaging 31.6 fantasy points a game. I mean,
that's my stack right there.
That's your quarterback in fantasy. I know. And listen, you want to know the scary part is? He's playing against Miami, right? You know what Miami has? They have the worst pass rush in the NFL. So what is more scarier than Josh Allen with time to throw the ball?
Oh, yeah.
So for me, like that's it. That's all I really needed to know about Josh Allen. My number two guy is going to be a guy that I think a lot of people probably aren't talking about is putting up the top fantasy numbers this week, and that's going to be Matthew Stafford. I love Matthew Stafford in this game. He is going against a Arizona offense that has been absolutely torched the first couple of weeks. They are the worst defense in coverage right now in the National Football League. And we know Matthew Stafford can sling the rock. We know he has weapons. So I think this is a game where Matthew Stafford comes out and likely throws 4 touchdowns in this game. I think Matthew Stafford's good for 4 touchdowns against the Arizona Cardinals. And then
four of them things.
I mean, that's the thing. I feel like I didn't even have that written down in my notes, but the way that the theme of the show's been going, the way we were talking about I'm going to go ahead and say Matthew Stafford is going to drop a lax on the Arizona Cardinals today. And my number 3 quarterback is, I got to have a quarterback with legs in my top quarterbacks. And I'd be a fool if I didn't think Jalen Hurts is going to have a absolutely smashing fantasy football day today. He is also averaging 29.4 fantasy points per game so far this season. He is the number 3 overall quarterback in fantasy football through the first 2 weeks of the season. So, I mean, he's just in an opportunity to do really well against the Washington Commanders. Shout out to, I had to bring back the R hat,
fresh.
I had to change some things up after that last week performance. So those are my top 3 guys right now. Who are your top 3 guys for this week?
I like it, man. I wish we would have discussed this because 2 of the 3 I definitely got up here. I love Jalen Hurts going up against Washington Commanders. I think he's going to be able to do some things in the air, but also Washington's allowing 157 rushing yards per game. And we know what Jalen Hurts can do on the ground. It's all going to start with the running game with them. If they get the running game clicking, that game might get out of hand early. And I know Washington, that's not what y'all looking forward to, especially after that matchup against Detroit where that exact thing happened in the first half, got down 22-0. I love Josh Allen. Josh Allen's top quarterback. He's going to be in this category probably for the rest of the year. Let's keep it real. He's looking like the best quarterback in football. Outside of maybe one guy, which is Patrick Mahomes, man. Patrick Mahomes balling out already. He's got 7 touchdowns on the year already. And I feel like he's off to another kind of let's say a paced start where people are kind of like, they kind of overlook him because they know about his greatness from his first year as a starter, over 50 touchdowns his first year as a starter. But I think he's about to rev it up here. I really think he's about to rev it up and show you that he's probably in a class of his own. Right now we feel like Josh Allen's right there neck and neck with Patrick Mahomes. We're going to see when this, starts
he's still
to
working with
more.
New receivers, too. I mean, he's still trying to find that rhythm with, Juju and Valdez
I got to give you props on Valdez Scantling, man. I forget the stat that you talked about. It was like something about down the field yards.
Yeah.
Like being number 2 in the NFL. That's something that nobody would – that's a true nugget right there. Like, that's a valuable 4-piece nugget right there. It's like just a small sample size, but very valuable. And Valdez Scantling, man, is making those big plays. So when they get more chemistry, Patrick Mahomes is going to just look better. Juju Smith-Schuster, he's kind of still shaky. I feel like he still hasn't really gotten settled in. We'll see what happens with him. He had a big fumble last week too. But those are my 3, man. Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen. I got a honorable mention I want to throw up here too, and that's Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow is going to bounce back from these first 2 weeks. I think he was sacked 13 times in 2 games. If they can just, get him some time in the pocket, I think a lot of it has to do with him too, just holding on to the ball. Like, if it's not there, just get rid of it. I think he's going to learn from his mistakes from the first 2 weeks. We'll see a bounce back game from Joe Burrow against the Jets. The Jets, man, I think they got the most flukiest win of week 2 you could possibly get. So coming into week 3, I think the Jets kind of get back down to earth, and Joe Burrow should have a big game.
So who are you going to be sitting at the quarterback position this week?
I'm sitting Justin Fields. I got a few. Look, I really don't got no sleepers in this category, to keep it real with you. I think Joe Burrow's kind of a sleeper, I guess. But I got a few quarterbacks you could sit here, man. Justin Fields, I don't know what it is with. Is it Chicago's like uniform? David, you gotta let me know what's going on with the quarterback position with Chicago. Y'all cannot get the quarterback clicking. And I think Fields has all the intangibles to be a good quarterback. And I like what Darnell Mooney does as a number 1 wide receiver over there. A lot of people are down on their weapons. I think the weapons aren't terrible. I mean, I think they're not great, but they're not dealing with a New York Giants situation where you got David Sills out there as your, one of your starting wide receivers and stuff. So I'm looking for Justin Fields to really just rev it up, but he hasn't been able to. So against Houston is a decent matchup, but I think he's a guy I sit this week, let him prove that he can really do it. And another one I sit, man, is Matt Ryan. I'm sitting Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's looking ugly. Until he can show me that he's back to that form where he, was one of the better quarterbacks in this league. I know he's up there in age, but we know Matt Ryan is capable. First 2 weeks, man, it looks like he's a downgrade from what Carson Wentz was over there with the Colts. And dare I say this, we talked about this a little bit too, The Beard. Carson Wentz looks better with the Washington Commanders than he did with the Colts. I don't know. Maybe they overlooked this whole situation. It was when have we ever seen a guy get pulled in for 1 year and just get ditched that quickly? A guy who's not relatively up there in age. Usually doesn't happen. So for me, I'm sitting Matt Ryan. I'm sitting Justin Fields this week.
I'm gonna have to sit the GOAT. Back-to-back weeks. Tom Brady is my quarterback to sit. He is just. Listen, it's not necessarily Brady because, listen, we know Brady is Brady, right? But we're talking fantasy football. I need my quarterback to give me points. And I think he's going to be handing the ball off a lot this week. No Mike Evans, no Godwin, no Julio Jones.
They signed, what's his name from Buffalo, Cole Beasley, too. And
Beasley.
Activated up on the 53-man roster. I don't know if he'll get in there. I said this same thing about, what's my homie, Kenyon Drake. With Baltimore. He had signed, it was like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Oh, he's not, yeah. And then all of a sudden he was getting a lot of carries that game.
Yeah, I'm like, what's going on? Dude just got there. But, that might show that, like, when they pull in these players, they're pulling people in that are scheme fit, that might know the terminology within the offense and stuff like
Absolutely.
that. Tom Brady need all the help he can get. And you're right, it's not really just Tom Brady. A Bleacher Report just showed some videos this morning of Tom Brady on the sidelines in week 2 smashing 2 Microsoft Surface tablets, breaking them Jones. Like, Tom Brady is furious right now. That Packers defense has been a bit of a letdown, but you're right. I do expect them to run that rock a lot today.
It's funny because Ma Dukes was like, Ma Dukes doesn't like people who are like put on pedestals and, have certain views and stuff like that. So
yep.
she was like, oh, you see Tom Brady last weekend on the sideline acting like a baby? And I was like, well, with Tom Brady, it's like, he is like the ultimate competitor and he just does not accept anything less. And I feel like sometimes we give him a pass for the way he acts because he's Tom Brady. But yeah, he demands a lot from his fellow teammates, and sometimes I think it works, and sometimes obviously I do think that it backfires. I'm kind of in the same boat with you as far as sleepers go. I've been telling you guys every week now, Marcus Mariota, the guy has been doing nothing but putting up fantasy points. So he's definitely somebody to keep your eye on, especially going against Seattle. But Jared Goff has been putting together a nice season so far. He's averaging 21.3 fantasy points per game this week.
Dog, I swear, like, see, this is what happens when you do notes late at night. When you just said Jared Goff, I'm like, I had him on here as a sleeper, I think, actually. Because Jared Goff been balling, man. Like, he's been playing really good football.
21.3 fantasy points a game so far through the first 2 games. I'm on Ross St. Brown. The sun god has arrived. So, he's definitely, has the weapons over there. And not to mention DeAndre Swift is just an absolute dog in every word of the sense.
I think that Jared Goff's not getting a fair shake from the NFL fan bases. Like, people be putting him in the category with, like, some of these bum-ass quarterbacks. I don't think that's the case. I retweeted a tweet from Jared Goff's highlights from when he was with the Rams. Man,
I saw that.
Some throws, man. Like, dog, he's got great velocity. I think Jared Goff could be a guy. He's probably the floor for how, like, average a quarterback could be, but still be successful for a team. I hope Detroit could really contend for that division. We don't know if it's going to be the Vikings or if it's going to be the Packers or if it's going to be the Lions. I think all 3 of them got a shot this year. And I really hope, just for, like, the sake of the Detroit fan base, that they don't fall off in a major way. I want to see them get back to at least contending a little bit. You know what I mean? It's been so long.
Yeah, when Goff is not turning the ball over and he plays well. And I mean, 4 touchdowns last week. Like I said, he's averaging 21.3 fantasy points per game. So definitely somebody to keep your eye out on. I did build a DraftKings lineup around Jared Goff this week. So it'll be interesting to see. Before we move on to the next position, Lax044 got a $4.99 super chat. Shout out to Lax. Says Damien Pierce, Rex Burkhead, or Tony Pollard. Gotta flex one. Very interesting. I'm gonna let you take that one first.
Okay. I said this like last week. When you got Rex Burkhead challenging you for your carries, something ain't right there. Damien Pierce, he's not on my radar. I'm gonna keep it funky with you. I'm going Tony Pollard, even though he's going up against the Giants. I do think that's going to be a bit of an ugly game where you're going to have to establish the run. And Tony Pollard, we know he can break that big play. That's the one thing Tony Pollard has. Last week had that big run where he got down to the 1-yard line. It was a touchdown. They ended up calling it back when they reviewed it on the replay. I even though he's going against my squad, I got to go Tony Pollard on this one.
I think I'm going to go Tony Pollard. I'm going to talk about Damien Pierce and Rex Burkhead here at some point today. But Tony Pollard gives you the receiving threat, which I think in fantasy is definitely something to keep your eye out on. And he's been getting more and more touches throughout this season with Zeke than he was that I expected him to get. But, I mean, some people were kind of reluctant to admit that was a possibility. And he does have that big play capability also for sure, which is definitely something to keep your eye out on. And big shout out to Nick the Wick for the $1.99 super chat. Says, what up, Awthentik and The Beard fam? Appreciate you stopping by. I see Joe Deals is in the building.
Man. Shout out Joe Texas. Deals. Shout out Nick the Wick.
Big shout out Texas Made says, I like y'all show. I'm going to subscribe.
Appreciate that, fam. That. Welcome to the fam, man. Welcome to the AATB fam, my brother.
Yes. Oh, James.
I wanted to throw this at you real quick.
Yes, sir.
Carson Wentz is tied for the lead in touchdown passes.
Indeed, he is.
Let's just put that out there while we can. You know what I'm saying?
7 touchdown passes to start the year, which is pretty crazy.
Yep. And Jared Goff at 6 in second place. Man, them 2 right there. Those are the floor for the average quarterbacks for me right now.
It's very interesting. And big shout out to C-Bands Never Stay Lacking says Miles Sanders, James Robinson over Josh Jacobs. I like these running back questions as I'm getting ready to talk about running backs. I love Josh Jacobs today, but I think Miles Sanders or Josh Jacobs is the question here for me. It's very tough. That's a coin flip. Josh Jacobs is on the injury report, which is something we'll have to keep our eye out on. So I think I'm going to go with Miles Sanders if I was forced to answer this question right now.
I got to go Josh Jacobs. Raiders are going up against the Titans today, and we saw what Saquon Barkley did against them Titans. Titans are down near the bottom of the league as far as rushing yards per game right now. And the reason why I don't go Miles Sanders is because I think that Washington's going to be able to score a good chunk of points in that game, where we know the Eagles, they still going to rely on RPO and read option and all that, but I think it'll just limit the carries. You see a lot of those games where Miles Sanders has 12 carries, 11 carries, but still can break that big play to have some good numbers. He might have like 12 and 90 and a touchdown. As long as they could limit that big play, I don't see Miles Sanders having a big day. I'm going, man, that was bars right there, just like instinctual. I'm going Josh Jacobs in this one with that matchup against the Titans defense, man. It's banged up, and I think that they're suffering from not having Harold Landry out there on that edge too.
And this is going to be our first time doing this season. Sebastian with the 99-cent super sticker. It's a super sticker. Super sticker. That sticker's super, yeah.
Yo, I thought about that like 3 days ago. I was like, we ain't got no super stickers. I ain't heard him singing that Rick James vibe in a good long minute here.
All right, so next up, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about the running back position in fantasy football for week 3. I got a feeling there's going to be a little bit of mutual running back talk like there was quarterback talk to start things off. So I'm going to let Awthentik tell me. Oh, really? All right. I'm going to let you start things off. Tell me your top 3 running backs this week in fantasy football.
Okay, right off the bat, talked about it a little bit during the quarterback segment. I'm going Joe Mixon at the New York Jets. Joe Mixon is just a grinder when it comes to the running back position. The Jets allowed 181 yards on the ground last week. I know it was against Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I think Joe Mixon is going to be the foundation for a bounce-back game for the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow. I also love Leonard Fournette at Green Bay. You talked about Tom Brady being one of your people you're going to sit, and I think this is good reason for this. Green Bay's allowing 152 rushing yards per game through 2 games. Got to go with Leonard Fournette in this one. We already know people's talking about his weight in the offseason and all that. The dude is recharged. We know Leonard, come on, man, playoff Lenny early, about to get in his bag. And then I love Dalvin Cook versus Detroit. Detroit has struggled against the run. I hope we don't got the exact same 3 running backs, but I love Dalvin Cook. Detroit allowing 152 rushing yards per game as well. So I think Dalvin Cook's going to have a big game here. And in return, that should open up some things for the passing game for the Vikings as well.
I mean, listen, we are on. This is why Awthentik and The Beard is Awthentik and The Beard, because we don't even have to talk 9 out of 10 times, and we're on the same page.
It's like that tie-dye shirt the other day.
Yeah, the tie-dye shirt and then the Dilla and black
shirts. The rap shirts, yeah.
Listen, I mean, Awthentik is spot on here with his top 3 running backs, in my opinion. I got Joe Mixon. When we talk about fantasy football, we want volume, okay? He's got the 3rd most targets of any running back in the National Football League through 2 weeks. That's super important to me. I want my running backs to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield, especially in a PPR format. He has the most snaps at the running back position of any running back in the National Football League. So he is doing Derrick Henry-like numbers when it comes to volume as far as playing time goes, especially in a league where we got a lot of these split backfields, 3-headed backfields, 4-headed backfields, and then your New England backfields. Okay, so it's very important to me statistically when we're talking about fantasy football, the number of snaps. Also, Leonard Fournette. I mean, who else is going to get the rock besides?
Are we going 3 for 3?
We're going 3 for 3. We're going 3 for 3. Okay, listen, Leonard Fournette. There's nobody to pass the ball to. Leonard Fournette has been absolutely phenomenal. He's 4th right now in snaps played as far as percentage goes. And he's going against Green Bay, who's 31st in the run stop in the National Football League. So definitely got to keep your eye on Leonard Fournette. And then obviously Davin Cook. He has the 8th most snaps of any running back in the National Football League, 8th most targets in the National Football League, and he did not get any touches he got touches, but he didn't get nearly the amount of touches that he got last week. Was like 10 carries or something like that. I'm looking for them to double that this week. Try and run the ball more in Minnesota. I'm expecting him to get 20 touches.
That's wild that he only got about 10 carries last week or whatever it may be, the low amount of carries, because the game 24-7 at the half is not a reason to abandon the run. And then no points were scored in the second half in that game between the Vikings and Philadelphia Eagles. So that's kind of interesting that they abandoned the run that quickly. And Kirk Cousins had 3 interceptions in that game, I believe, too. You got to rely on the running game for quarterbacks like that. I like Kirk Cousins. I think he's at the top of that average pool of quarterbacks, or maybe a little bit above average. But that doesn't mean neglect the run when you got a guy like Dalvin Cook back there.
Big shout out to Marjorie in the chat. She's dropping Marge bombs. We're going to get you a bomb explosive sound effect here for the next
flex bomb.
There it is. Yeah. Marjorie bombs are going on in the chat right now. She's letting everybody know that actives and inactives for this week for the 1 o'clock games. The guy who I'm going to sit is Devin Singletary. I haven't seen enough yet from that Buffalo running game as far as consistency for one guy. Shout out, I see some Washington people in the building. Shout out to Paulie's in the building, and Donald Pratt is in
Pratt in the building. What's good, my guy? What's good?
So I'm sitting Devin Singletary today. There's not enough there for me to put him in a running back 1, running back 2, maybe a flex guy. But right now, I got to bench Devin Singletary this week. Who are you sitting this week at the running back position?
I'm sitting Chase Edmonds. Going up against the Bills, that's going to be tough. Bills got the number 1 rush defense in the NFL right now. And he was outgained by Raheem Mostert last week. 51 yards for Raheem Mostert as the leading rusher for them. That's kind of interesting. I like Chase Edmonds, but I think he's going to regress to a bit of a role kind of like how he had with the Cardinals a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like where he was like that scat kind of third down running back and whatnot. I think that he might get morphed into that, as the season progresses. So I'm sitting Chase Edmonds this week.
And who are your sleeper running backs this week?
I got one major sleeper this week, David Montgomery at Houston. I think that's a great matchup right there. I talked about Fields struggling at the quarterback position. And when you struggling at the quarterback position, the coach's job is to get that running game clicking for him to rely on. The Houston Texans allowed 161 yards in week 1 versus the Colts, 150 yards week 2 versus the Broncos. So they are definitely allowing running backs to get off on them. I definitely like David Montgomery in this matchup.
Listen, I got a couple of sleepers. We talked about Damien Pierce. Damien Pierce has been all over the map so far this week. He's been this season. He's been a guy to start. He's been a guy to sit. Now he's reached my sleeper list because of the fact that he was a sit last week. His carries went up from 11 to 15 last week. So I think they're kind of starting to work him into that number 1 role. I think the Chicago Bears defense is definitely a team that you can run on. We saw Aaron Jones go absolutely wild last week. I think that was a Sunday night game. So I think this might be Damien Pierce's breakout game this week. We're going to have to wait and see, but he's trending in that direction, going against a team that just gave up a ton of yards on the ground, and he's also seeing an increase in his William Jackson III is inactive for the Washington Commanders.
Shout out to Marjorie again, just the listing all those inactives per team. We definitely appreciate that, yo. That's major over here.
Yeah, so we're gonna ride with Damien Pierce this week. Michael Carter is second in the NFL this season in targets for running backs. He's also doing it on the ground, and he is getting every single 76% of the snaps right now, which is pretty amazing considering he's got a little bit of
running back
Breece Hall.
Breece Hall, so that's right.
He's not 76% of the snaps. Who's 76% of the snaps is my next guy, Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is getting 76% of the snaps right now. He is getting every single red zone touch right now for the Raiders, and the Raiders are going to be without Hunter Renfrow today. So I think that
from my lineup.
They're going to need to have a little bit more run game action because they want to have that, possession sort of situation. I think you'll see a big game from Darren Waller also because of that. But yeah, those are my guys when it comes to the sleepers at the running back position. There are a lot. Oh, somebody, I don't know what's going on with that guy, Anthony Capopola. I think he's listening to us with his phone in his pocket right now.
No bull. You got a couple of words right in there. Typhoons, unturned, involved, and yakking. Maybe he's just really drunk and he's yakking up right now.
He's in the parking lot tailgating.
He's a part of the stream, so shout out to Anthony one time.
Shout out to Anthony Capopola.
Hey, wake your ass up, Anthony.
All right, we're going to move into the next segment, which is going to be our top fantasy wide receivers for this week.
I was ready to go to that Manscaped read.
All right, our top performing wide receivers from week 2. There were some big numbers that were put up last week, and number 1 in wide receiver rankings and PPR fantasy points was Awthentik's wide receiver, part of his crazy stack of Josh Allen. Stefon Diggs put up 32.8 points in week 2. Tyreek Hill put up 31 points, and the Sun God himself put up 30.4 fantasy points in week 2. This week, my wide receivers, I gotta go with Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is never going to leave this list, I feel like. I didn't include him, I think, maybe last week, but you want to hear something crazy? Since being with Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, that's 19 games he's played with Matthew Stafford. He is averaging a whopping 26.7 fantasy points per game in 19 games, 12.2 targets, and 115 yards. Those are averages for 19 games that he's been teamed up with Matthew Stafford. And we already talked about Matthew Stafford this week going against that horrible Arizona defense. So we're definitely going to run some Cooper Kupp out there. I also got to go with Tyreek Hill because Miami, and that's going to be a shootout. Tyreek Hill is second in the National Football League in targets this year with 25, so that's 12.5 targets a game he's averaging. So Tua's definitely looking his way, which I would too if I had Tyreek Hill on my team.
Facts.
And number 3 is going to be Stefon Diggs. Okay, he's averaging 25.5 fantasy points per game. We talked about Josh Allen. I like my quarterbacks, who I think are going to do really well, to be paired up with my wide receivers, who I think are going to do really well. I think that Miami-Buffalo game is going to be quite the shootout because of those injuries to the Buffalo secondary. And I don't think Miami's going to be able to run the ball on Buffalo. So I think we're just going to be going pew, 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 pew.
A lot of throwing, I got big faith in Leslie Frazier over there, man. I think they've been dealing with a lot of injuries already in the secondary. Now they're really banged up. They're missing 2 in that secondary. I forget who the players are, but they're missing 2 in that secondary. But I don't know, man. Frazier's scheme, Buffalo Bills, man, they look. I tweeted this out the other day. They look like the scariest team in the NFL right now. So let me see your 3. Let's take care of this real quick too.
Big shout out to Kevin, the PRF, one of the Awthentik and The Beard resident Commander fans. Says, this isn't a bad thing. WJ3 has been terrible. And St. Juice should be outside. We just need Awthentik to suit up in the slot.
My man Kevin, you know I'm about that business. One time, I run that 7 route better than anybody in the business. You know, Beard know about that. Shout out Kevin one time, man.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. So who you got as your top 3 wide receivers?
Okay, you had Diggs, Tyreek,
Hill, and Kupp.
Okay, so you only had one that I had. I'll start off with Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs is going ape out here. He going crazy. Shout out to Roldy one time in the building. What's up, man? Stefon Diggs right now, 20 receptions, 270 yards, and 4 touchdowns through 2 games. Come on, dog. That I tweeted out the other day, and I really didn't mean it when I said it. It was just like in a reply, and I was saying, you know, Josh Allen working with the best wide receiver in the NFL. He getting there, bro. I'm sorry. Stefon Diggs is getting there. You saw what he did to Jalen Ramsey?
So
Stefon Diggs, he's not coming out the lineup for the rest of the year. You already know. And I got Josh Allen at quarterback, so that stack is major right there. Now, my other 2 differ a little bit. I got to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown again. 9 straight games, 8 receptions, and a touchdown. That's an NFL record. I've been talking about that now for a week and a half. Dude has been balling out. And then one thing that I think a lot of people overlooked is how late he was drafted. He was a 4th-round pick, 17 wide receivers drafted before this guy or something like that, and he's 17. Keeping the receipts. He's checking off people off this list like, yo, y'all drafted this bum before me? Nah, bro. Dude's on a mission. Seems like he's going to have another big game here against the Vikings, who defensively, especially in the secondary, they're not that great. And then for me, man, I got to go Jamar Chase. Right now, he's only got 1 touchdown on the year. They going up against the Jets. He didn't score a touchdown last week. Jamar Chase, he normally don't got games where he go back-to-back with no touchdowns dating back to last season. I'm looking for a major bounce-back game from Jamar Chase. I think he's one of the perennial wide receivers in the NFL right now. I'd say a top 3 guy. I was talking with a couple of people on Bad Dog stream the other day, and Bad Dog said Cooper Kupp, one of the best wide receiver, or is the best wide receiver in the league. And I was like, I don't think so. I like Cooper Kupp. I think he's one of the better kind of wide receivers as far as like top 10, top 15 guys, right? But it's starting to make me think about my Giants. People were saying that Matthew Stafford made Kenny Galladay, right? And I used to say, but the year he led the league in touchdowns as far as Galladay, he had David Blau, throwing him a few touchdowns. He threw him 3 that year. And I always, what's his name?
Driscoll.
Driscoll. I was going to say Friskel. Jeff Driscoll threw him the other one, right? But Matthew Stafford threw him 7 of the 11 touchdowns in the first 8 games. So we see this with Cooper Kupp as well. Cooper Kupp had one 1,000-yard season before Matthew Stafford got there. Cooper Kupp is now in his 6th year, I believe. Maybe it's his 7th. I think it's his 6th though.
I think if it's 6 or 7, it's 6.
I think it's 6. I'm pretty sure it's 6. So you're looking at 2 1,000-yard seasons in 6, or 2 1,000-yard years in 6 seasons. Matthew Stafford might be the sole reason for that. Look at all the other wide receivers that came from Detroit. Golden Tate. What was the dude who's in Jacksonville now? Jones, Marvin Jones
Jr.
There was another one over there too that was doing some work. He got a guy like Khalif Raymond. Khalif Raymond led the Detroit Lions over there. Well, that was with Goff, but maybe it's a system package along with the quarterback package. So for me, I got to remove Cooper Kupp. I'm putting Jamar Chase in there this week. I think Jamar Chase going to go off. We'll see, man. If Jamar Chase ain't going off yet, we got to really address this offensive line. And I know the Bengals did try to address the offensive line. It's not looking good the first 2 weeks. We need to get some chemistry.
It's just not gelling. It's not gelling yet. So I'm hoping, I'm using it as an excuse that, it will begin to gel over time.
Yeah, and find creative ways to get Jamar Chase the ball. The one thing I didn't see in the first 2 weeks was a lot of stop routes, hitch routes. They did that a lot last season. Get him on the quick slants, because I've been talking about this for about a week or two now too. I looked into Jamar Chase and I was like, what is the success? Like, how do they drive the success to Jamar Chase when people know he's going to be targeted? And last season, they exploited the one-on-one matchups. Every time they got a one-on-one matchup with Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow was throwing that fade route. This year, they're probably playing a lot more over the top. They're not trying to let those big plays happen. So you got to start the line of scrimmage. Treat them like, Jamar Chase can do things like Deebo Samuels does in the passing game, those short routes, and get that yak. So I'm hoping that they find a way to get him the ball in this game versus the Jets.
Max Webster wants to know, Mike Williams or Christian Kirk? I just thought this was a really good question because I love both of these guys this week. Christian Kirk is definitely one of my sleepers this week. He is a guy that I don't think a lot of people were giving crap to because he got that bag, but he's been playing like a absolute #1 wide receiver this season. He's got 18 targets in 2 weeks, including those 18 targets, 5 red zone targets. And I love Mike Williams. Mike Williams is a big receiver, but I am a little concerned about the situation with Justin Herbert's ribs until I can see him play. So I think I might lean towards Christian Kirk. Just putting 5 red zone targets, I mean, that's crazy. That's
it right there. I mean, if Herbert is not banged up, I think this would maybe be a bit of a more even kind of matchup between these two guys, like trying to figure out which one to start. But because you got a banged up quarterback, man, and the ribs, you know how that is. Every time you throw it, you're going to feel that rib. It ain't no two things about it. Like, I was so surprised to see Justin Herbert when he first hurt the ribs in that game. He went to go throw the ball, and you just saw him like, ugh, and then he couldn't
run. He couldn't run for that first down.
He couldn't run for the first down. But this would surprise me. Did you see the throw the next play?
He turned around and just said, "Sting!" I was like,
15 yards on a rope. So I know it makes it very difficult to answer that question, but I got to go Kirk. I got a feeling that Herbert's not going to play today.
We gonna see. We are going to see.
Who's the backup now after they punctured Tyrod Taylor's
he is the king of backups.
King of backups. Who's the king of backups? I was gonna say like Colt McCoy.
Chase Daniels.
Oh, come on, man. King of backups, Chase.
I mean, the dude has made like $90 million. He's played like 6 snaps in the last 7 years.
Yeah, he's the king of getting the bag at the backup position for sure. I'll give you that.
All right, couple quick questions for some new viewers. We got 72 people watching right now across all formats. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Cap Mackin wants to know, do I start Fournette tonight? Absolutely start Fournette.
Profile pic and that name, Cap Mackin is in the building one time, man.
Cap Mackin cheesing. Yeah, you start Fournette tonight.
Yeah, you got.
And then we got a big question here from XXX Shaked up.
Oh, shanked up. Like
shanked up.
Halloween, Michael Myers vibes.
Says, should I flex Antonio Gibson or Devonta Smith this week? Thanks for the advice on Devonta Smith last week. Won me the game.
Hey, that's great, man. That's fantastic.
Listen, this is a tough one. I'm a big Antonio Gibson guy. Devonta Smith, we were looking forward to seeing him step up last week, and he did so.
Yeah.
He had 7 catches, I want to say, or 7 or 8 catches was a career high in receptions. I think
we need to come to a conclusion on this one. Because he got the win last week, we got to have the same answer. So, I might throw some things back at you after I hear your answer to kind of.
All right, I'm going to go Devonta Smith. I'm going to go Devonta Smith.
You're going Devonta Smith.
I'm going to go Devonta Smith.
I want to go Gibson for volume. I'm going to keep it real. But you know what? I'm going to agree with you. We're going to go Devonta Smith because of this. Fletcher Cox has incredible games against Washington. I think he's going to plug that middle up in a certain way where Antonio Gibson might not be able to get off the ground. Plus, look for Washington to maybe trail in this game and rely on the pass to get back in it. I like that. I'm going Devonta Smith.
Cookie Monster wants to know, Jerry Jeudy, Devonta Smith, or Elijah Moore on a flex. This one's tough. I'm a big Jeudy guy, but he's a little bit banged up. Elijah Moore, it's tough over there right now with Joe Flacco. Garrett Wilson had a huge game last week, and he is one of my sleepers as well this week when it comes to wide receivers. I'm going to go Devonta Smith again.
I might too. I want to check out Elijah Moore's stats from last week because Joe Flacco threw the ball 50 times last week. And if he can't get off after 50 attempts from the quarterback position, then I'm not even considering him here, to be honest. 3 receptions for 41 yards last week. I'm going Devonta Smith.
Michael Carter or Jeff Wilson. We know right now the running back situation in San Francisco is banged up. I'm a huge Michael Carter guy. If you heard me run off those stats earlier, I'm going Michael Carter.
Yeah, I think this one could be a bit of a coin flip, but I'll go Michael Carter as well.
Let me make sure I didn't want to get another question in here. Flex options. JK, I'm assuming JK Dobbins, who's back. Shout out JK Dobbins or Brandon Ayuk. I'd have to go with Brandon Ayuk until I see JK run because he might be on some sort of snap count.
I think Ace is disagreeing with your pick here on this one. I'm going to go Brandon Ayuk. JK Dobbins, no telling what the volume will be like. I always like to just see a little bit of proof first. You know what I'm saying? I want to see how they implement him back into that offense and see what goes down. Plus, they got an interesting matchup going up against the Patriots. That's going to, Bill Belichick, man, he don't play around.
And I think I hit all those immediate questions. So do you have any other sleepers at the wide receiver position that you're thinking about this week?
Not really. Nah.
I do like Russell Gage. He's going to be the number 1 guy in Tampa Bay this week with all of those injuries and Mike Evans being suspended.
Gage is definitely a sleeper this week.
So Russell Gage is my guy. Man. Yeah, it is.
Gage being your sleeper.
Yeah, he's my sleeper. I love Garrett Wilson. Finally had a big coming out party last week in that win over the Cleveland Browns. And Tyler Lockett, who I sat last week, ended up having a pretty good game. His production's starting to go up. They're going up against a bad pass defense this week, so in the Atlanta Falcons. So I think Tyler Lockett's definitely a guy to keep your eye on as well.
Yeah, I'd say another good sleeper, and we've been talking about him a lot, is Devonta Smith. A lot of people talking about A.J. Brown putting up those big numbers, in the first 2 weeks and whatnot. But I think Devonta Smith's going to come along here. And possibly Jerry Jeudy, too, man. The Broncos, man, with Russell Wilson at quarterback right now are 0% in the red zone. As soon as that changes, I think both the wide receivers are going to be able to eat over there in Denver a little bit more.
And while we are on wide receivers, I'm going to give you a tight end. Tyler Higby. I'm going heavy on the Rams this week, if you guys didn't notice. Tyler Higby actually has the most targets of any tight end in the National Football League right now at 20 targets. 20 targets so far in 2 games.
Are his number? You know what his receptions looking like? I'm just curious if you know.
I mean, they're not Travis Kelce, but I mean, I'm looking at, if you're getting 20 targets in an offense that features Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson, you must be doing something right.
Yeah, Allen Robinson, they got to find a way to get him involved. Tyler Higby, 12 catches for 110 yards in 2 games. That's not bad. And he hasn't gotten in the end zone yet, so this might be that week that he gets in.
Yeah, so he's definitely a guy to keep your eye on as far as tight ends go. And earlier I mentioned it, Darren Waller. With no Hunter Renfrow, they're going to need somebody to kind of hold down the possession aspect of that offense. So definitely a guy to keep your eye out on is Darren Waller as well.
Facts.
A couple quick quarterback questions before we get to the manscaping. Chris David wants to know Russ or Cousins?
Russ or Cousins? I mean, the Lions have allowed a ton of points in the first 2 weeks, too. I like Kirk Cousins, I think. Let Russell Wilson prove it.
Yep, I totally, literally 100% agree with that answer. I think that Minnesota-Detroit game could be pretty high scoring, a lot more high scoring than the Denver-San Francisco game. And then we got
Broncos on the Niners. That's gonna be tough.
Russell Wilson or Tua.
I'm going Tua.
Tua for me as well. All right, that's gonna wrap up our top 3 fantasy players, sleepers, and the guys who are riding the pine. Now, Mr. Awthentik has some words of wisdom for everybody in the chat.
All right, let's get it, man. Support for the Parlay with Awthentik and The Beard is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels.
Bars.
Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code AATB at manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code AATB at manscaped.com. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Big shout out to Manscaped, man, for sponsoring this episode, man. Got another sponsorship we're working on, too. We're going to be leaking very soon, so definitely keep your eyes and ears peeled for that one.
Up next, it's time for everybody's second favorite segment, Rapid Fire. You got to get like a...
Come on, I'm not trying to scare them out there. You wanted like the Scarface scene.
It's time for our Rapid Fire portion of the show. Don't forget, as soon as we wrap up Rapid Fire bars, we're going to answer as many fantasy questions as we possibly can for you ladies and gentlemen. All right. First game on the docket is going to be the Baltimore Ravens, who are 1-1. They're headed up to New England to face the Patriots, who are also 1-1. The over-under in this game is 44. The kickoff is at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Lamar Jackson is in his bag, trying to get the bag. Listen, this Patriots team, I just don't know what to expect from them. They beat a bad Pittsburgh Steelers team last week, but I'm all over this game for the Baltimore Ravens. I think the Baltimore Ravens win. I think they get to cover that 2.5 points. That over-under, though, is a little sketchy because, I mean,
Facts.
That's basically saying that the New England Patriots are going to score 20 points. 19 or 20 points. I don't see that happening. I'm going to take the under in this game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I'm taking the under in this one. And I think that Bill Belichick will do his best job to try to contain Lamar Jackson and his Ravens offense. I see them putting up a good number of points, but I don't see them getting in a real high-scoring kind of game over 30 or nothing crazy like that. I'm taking the under, and I'm taking the Ravens to cover as well.
All right, next game is one of the games that I have my eye on a lot, and that is going to be the Buffalo Bills, who are 2-0. They are 4.5-point favorites. Shout out to the graphics department. They're headed down to South Beach to face the Dolphins, who are also 2-0. The over-under in this game is a skyrocketing, whopping 53 points. Awthentik, tell me what you got.
I mean, this is Josh Allen. This is Stefon Diggs. I'm going to take the over in this game. I think they're going to get there. The Dolphins showed last week that they can compete in a shootout with the Ravens. I'm going to take the Bills to cover this one, and I'm going to take the over.
I'm going to take the over, but I think Miami covers this spread. I think Buffalo ends up winning by 3 points, so I think Miami will be able to cover. I'm definitely going to take the over in this game as well.
Now, listen, a lot of people talking about this game, talking about the Dolphins are going to be in competition with the Bills over there in the AFC. I think that this game is going to show you that the Dolphins are not even in the same class as the Bills. Bookmark this timestamp on the episode. We're probably going to chop this up and put this one up because I got a feeling the Bills are going to straight up dog walk the Dolphins. We'll see.
What's if you had to give a spread, what's the spread? How many points does Buffalo
I'm going to say
win?
like
2 touchdowns?
Definitely 2 touchdowns. I'm going to say 16.
16.
Yeah.
What if I told you, all right, we're going to do this just in case we can double use this content. Bookmark this right now. Miami Dolphins upset the Buffalo Bills and win by 9 points.
We shall see. I like the bold prediction. Watch my man Josh Allen. Watch that man go off.
I'm hedging our content creation bets right here.
Going out on a limb here trying to get a good piece of content.
You know what? I forgot to send you. Cernock sent me something. I got to send you something about 2-0 teams that included the New York Giants. It's a pretty funny meme out there. Next game on the docket is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals looking to finally get in the win column. They are 0-2, but they are 6-point favorites headed to New York, not to face the Giants, but the Jets. Gary V is checking receipts. If you guys haven't seen that clip around the internet, it's pretty awesome. The Jets are 1-1. The over-under is 45.5. Kickoff is at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think we're probably going to be both in agreement on this one. I think the Bengals get back on track. They win this game, and I will take them to cover the 6 points as well. And I'm going to take the under 45.5 on this one.
I'm right there with you. I like the Bengals. I'm going to take the under in this one as well. I will say this, though. If the Jets come out here and they find a way to win back-to-back games with Joe Flacco, that's going to put people on notice for sure. I ain't saying they're going to make no crazy playoff run or nothing like that, but they might not be the Jets of the old. And if they can win games like this with Flacco, I think we really got to consider what's going on with the quarterback position here, man, with Zach Wilson.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm assuming he's probably getting closer to coming back within the next couple of weeks here.
It's interesting because at the beginning of it, they said his injury wasn't going to have him out that long. And it's like they're slow playing him back into the lineup. I'd imagine he's probably looking healthy. I haven't, peeked in to see if he's been at practice and taking reps and whatnot. But, man, Flacco last week, that fourth quarter comeback, that looked real vintage Flacco. Like, Flacco throws one of the prettiest balls in the NFL still, I would say. Accuracy and all that is a whole different thing. I'm talking tight spiral vibes.
We got a couple of people in the chat who are picking the Jets to upset the Bengals. Shout out to you guys. Next up on the docket is going to be the Las Vegas Raiders, who are 0-2. Woo. They are 2-point favorites facing Tennessee, who's also 0-2. A couple of 0-2 surprises here. The over-under is 45.5. Kickoff is at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Authentic, tell me what you got.
I'll tell you what I got. I had no idea that the Raiders were 0-2 already. I mean, that's a bad hole to be in right there with Derek Carr, and you got a lot of weaponry over there. They brought in Adams over there. You should be winning some games. You got Waller at the tight end position. Renfro put up a dud week 1. I don't know where that came from. Came out week 2, only gave me about 11 points, and then you get knocked out of the game with a concussion. This might be one of the harder picks of the week for me right here, to be honest. I'm going to take the under for sure in this one. The Titans have not shown that they can put up a lot of points. Not too sure about the Raiders, but I guess I'll pick the Raiders to cover, man. I take that back. Titans going to win this game.
Well, I will take the Raiders for you because I think the Titans are going to fall to 0-3 here. I think the Raiders are a sneaky defensive play in this game. I could be quite possibly very wrong here. I mean, the Titans could come back and just, be the Titans again. But I don't know. There's so much inconsistency over there in Tennessee. I'm going to take the Las Vegas Raiders to win and cover the spread. I think they win by a field goal. I'm also going to take the under, though. This game is either going to be very high scoring or very, very sloppy. We're going to have to wait and see. But that Titans defense is a little sketchy, to say
against the run for sure. And I think, man, the Titans, they're really missing A.J. Brown is showing up. Like that, they need another wide receiver over there. Robert Woods could be a good number 2, I feel like. But you need a true number 1. A lot of teams do this kind of a method here. They draft a guy early on, like the Titans did with Treylon Burks. And, they expect him to kind of dive into that role. The wide receiver position is the one position where people draft and expect you to be able to come into the NFL and just the learning curve is not as crazy as other positions like the quarterback and other positions. I bet they thought that Burks could come in and become a number 1 early. It hasn't looked like that just yet.
He's trending up, though. He's
definitely trending up. Him and Robert Woods, they're both trending up, I feel like. But somebody got to step up in that wide receiver room. I think they could have benefited from a signing of a guy like Cole Beasley, even though that kid that they had in the slot against Darnay Holmes in week 1, he was doing some damage. He definitely was, but week 2, not so much.
Big shout out to Lax044 with the $4.99 super chat. I'm almost positive they said Wilson would miss the first 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's not good for him, man. When you a young quarterback like that, missing games, man, if Joe Flacco continue to ball out, what you gonna do, Joe Flacco, win you 2 or 3 games? You gonna just pull the plug on him when this kid gets healthy?
Yeah.
I don't know, bro. Zach Wilson ain't showing me jack.
He looked listen, go back and watch the second half of the season. Zach Wilson made some vast improvements to his game.
I think he has the he falls in that Daniel Jones category for me. Like, he has the skill set, and he has a bit of swag to his game, right? Nice runner out of the pocket. He can do some things in the pocket too, can maneuver the pocket pretty well. Got the speed, I feel like, but it all ain't clicking. And I'll go back to this, man, draft night. That face he made at Jamar Chase, bruh. That was like, when you take somebody who not used to being in our part of town, the Northeast, and they like, what are we doing around here, guys? That's how Zach Wilson was looking. Looked a little intimidated, man. So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens, though, when he gets back in the lineup.
Up next is going to be the New Orleans Saints, the Fleur-de-Lis. They are 1-1.
This logo is so ugly, bro. Like, the Saints logo is so ugly, yo. What's up with them black helmets? When the Panthers bringing them black helmets out, bro?
I don't know. I want to know when we're bringing out the black unis for Washington.
Yeah, y'all do got some black uniforms. They said the Giants are bringing out. Somebody told me week 4, week 5, the Giants going to bring out the 80s uniforms. I can't wait for those.
That's going to be nice. The Saints are 1-1. They're 2.5-point favorites. They're headed down to Carolina. The Panthers are 0-2 and look horrible. The over-under in this game is an underwhelming 41 points. Taysom Hill is out, I believe. Kamara is back in. Kickoff is at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to take the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to take the Saints minus 2.5. I'm going to take the over 41. I feel like we're going to get to around 42, 43 points in this game.
This is a good matchup, man. I think the running back is going to be very important. Kamara, or is it going to be CMC? The Panthers, man, they have looked pretty bad, I'll say, especially offensively. But let's not forget, man, they lost both of those games to game-winning field goals pretty much, or by a field goal. And I think that they're going to come out here and they're going to surprise the Saints a little bit. Jameis Winston coming off a horrible game. He's dealing with a back injury. I don't know if he's going to be out there on the field. I think he is. But dealing with a back injury out there. Jameis Winston, if he gets down in this game, is going to be a major problem for them. I'm picking the Panthers for the upset, man.
That is that's an interesting pick. You make valid points about the close games,
Yeah, and it was against the Browns week 1, right?
Yeah, Browns against week 1.
It's a decent team.
Giants are 2-0.
By the way, man, we didn't get a chance to talk about the Browns because they played on Thursday night. Big shout out to Amari Cooper, man, who showed up in that game in a major way. And Jacoby Brissett, man, like his post-game conference, like, he just a good dude, man. You should have seen some of the stuff he was saying about his teammates and preparation and how he's planning for the next weeks. They asked some questions about Deshaun Watson and whatnot. He was just like, I'm just preparing for the next week. He talked about learning a lot from being a backup and a starter in this league, man. Just a real down-to-earth dude, man. Big shout-out to Jacoby Brissett, man. I hope that he can, elevate his play even more and possibly see himself as a starter somewhere in this league before his career ends, man.
Yeah, and he's just a leader. And we talked about it, too, on Thursday night where he called the players-only meeting. And it definitely showed in that game that they were out to take care of business. So big shout-out to Jacoby Brissett. Up next in the lineup is the Detroit Lions, who are 1-1. They're headed to Minnesota. Minnesota's also 1-1. Minnesota's a 6-point favorite. The over-under in this game is 52.5 points. Kickoff is at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Awthentik, tell me what you got.
This one is so tough. Another tough game right here. Vikings coming off a tough loss. I think that the Lions are built offensively similar to the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they're going to give the Vikings a headache in this game. Upset alert, another one, man. I'm taking the Lions in this one.
I'm 100% right there, too. To me, it's absolutely crazy that the Vikings are favored by 6 points in this game, showing what Detroit has done already. I know Detroit's defense is kind of hurting a little bit as far as, giving up points and yards and stuff like that. But I like Detroit in this game. And I do like the over 52.5 as well.
And it wouldn't surprise me if the Vikings come out and get this dub. It won't surprise me.
For sure.
I picked the Vikings to win this division early on in the year. It's not going to surprise me if they win this game. But the Lions, man, they're looking very surprising this year.
Yeah, they are. And they've scored over 30, I think it's over 35 points in a game, 3 games in a row now, dating back to last year. So it'll be interesting to see how many points they put up against this Minnesota Vikings defense that got torched recently in the first half by the Philadelphia Eagles. And speaking of the Philadelphia Eagles, our next game on the docket, the Philadelphia Eagles are 2-0. They are 6.5-point favorites against my Washington Commanders. The over-under in this game is 47.5 points, which seems a little low to me. Kickoff is at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Earlier in the week, Authentic picked the Commanders to win, and I picked the Eagles to win. Let's see if our picks have changed. Authentic, what you got?
I think my pick has changed. You know, looking at the docket of games here already, I've already got 2 upsets on the board. I can't pick a third upset with the Commanders here. I got to go Eagles, man. I got to go Eagles. I just think, man, Jalen Hurts is just going to be a little bit too much for y'all. And if he is on a trajectory that is still going up, it's a problem for the NFC East. That kid looked great last week.
Listen, I picked the Eagles to win because that's the smart pick, okay? The Eagles are definitely the better team, okay, all around. On paper, on the field, in my imagination, and in real life, okay? All that being said, I just kind of woke up with this feeling today. I put the R hat on. I said, man, you know what? I think that there's some weird way. This is what's going to happen. Either Washington's going to get the socks blown off 61-28, or Washington finds a way to sneak away with a victory. I think Washington wins on a late field goal, and we're definitely going to get over the 47.5 points in this
Washington
game.
On a late field goal. Okay.
Yeah, that's where we're
going. I'm a flip-flop, so we'll both flip-flop, man. I'm going to take the Eagles.
We're flip-flopping our way to the beach right now. And
I'm going to take the under. I'm taking the
under.
You're
going to take the under. Oh,
yeah, I'm going to take the under.
I did hear you say something earlier that stood out to me in the show. We might have been off air. We were talking about how sometimes these big games, these high totals and these high teams, they kind of give you like low point totals. So it's definitely possible for sure.
Yeah.
Next game on the docket is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. They are 2-0. They're 5.5 point favorites. They're headed to Indianapolis to face the underwhelming Colts, who are 0-1. The over-under in this game is 51. What is Kansas City going to put up? 48. Kickoff is at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs to cover 5.5. I know Kansas City is a tough cover sometimes, but I think this Indianapolis Colts team is just really bad. Jonathan Taylor can't do it by himself. They are getting Michael Pittman Jr. back today. We'll see how he plays coming off of missing last week and that injury. I'm going to take the under 51 points in this game, though.
Yeah, I think I'm there with you. Let me see. Chiefs could easily put up like 38 or something, though. 38-10, maybe. 38-10. Still be under. Yeah, I'm taking the under. I'm taking the Chiefs.
It just seems a little weird to me. That over under 51 and then Minnesota -6 were some of the numbers that stood out to me the most. So we're going to go from an over under of 51 in that game to the next game on the docket, which is the Houston Texans, who are 0-1. I need them to step up. They're headed to Chicago. The Chicago Bears.
What's the season total wins that you have?
4.5.
Over 4.5, yeah.
The Chicago Bears are 1-1. They are 3-point favorites. The over-under is a disgusting 39 points. Kickoff is at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm pretty sure you guys all know where I'm going with this. Give me the Houston Texans and the over.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that one. I think the Texans are going to take this game. I think they're a better all-around team, and defensively especially, I think they're going to be able to hold the Bears down pretty much, force them to run the rock. I do see a big game from David Montgomery, but I think it'll be in a losing effort. I'm going to take the Texans in this one, and I'm going to take the under 39.
That sounds so bad.
You like that, right?
If somebody says under 39, I don't think anybody wants to watch that game. But
definitely not. That's a 1 o'clock game, right?
That is the last 1 o'clock game.
Last 1 o'clock game.
And now we're moving into the first 4 o'clock game. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 1-1 and in first place in that division. They're headed to LA to face the Chargers. We're still waiting to see if Herbert plays in this game. It's looking like he's going to play, but you kind of have to wait until you get closer to 4 o'clock to know for sure. The Chargers are only favored by 3 points. Over-under in this game is 42.5. If Justin Herbert plays, give me the Chargers -3 and the over. If Justin Herbert doesn't play, give me the Jaguars +3 and the over.
I'm taking the Jaguars either way. I think that team's on the up and up. They're going to find a way to win this game. Banged up quarterback. Yeah, and shout out to the graphics department.
Shout out to the graphics department, indeed. I mean, listen, that Jaguar definitely looks like he's ready to eat that lightning bolt.
That would not be a good time. Imagine getting hit by a lightning bolt and open it.
I mean, you probably have some heartburn, indigestion of some sort. Up next, we're going from one LA team to the next LA team. The Los Angeles Rams are 1-1. They are 3.5-point favorites. They're headed to Arizona, who is also 1-1. The over-under is 48.5. Kickoff is at 4:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I actually love the over in this game at 48.5. I'm surprised that it's not a little bit higher. The Rams are favored by 3.5. Arizona tends to play the Rams pretty close. The Rams have been letting teams back into games. I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals to cover, but I think the Rams win by a field goal and give me the over 48.5.
I'm right there with you, man. I think the Cardinals are going to cover this one, but the Rams are going to ultimately win this game late. Over unders 48.5. I'm taking the under, though. I'm going to take the under in this one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. You don't see
here's the thing. If this was last year, I would take the over. But the way that these two teams kind of started off just a little bit shaky, especially the Rams, Matthew Stafford struggling out the gate week 1. I don't know. I think we'll see a little bit more of a reserved game plan out of LA to kind of ensure that they can leave this game with a victory. So I think it'll be just under. Definitely
some valid points. And I'll tell you what's really interesting is this next game. The Green Bay Packers are 1-1. They're headed to Tampa Bay, who's 2-0. Tampa Bay is favored by 1 point. But an over-under of 42. Could you ever imagine the day where Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady were facing each other and the over-under was only 42? Maybe if it was snowing and it was the middle of December in Green Bay, but this is an interesting game. Tell me what you got, Awthentik.
I mean, it's going to be a tough matchup here. Tom Brady dealing with all the injuries and the suspension in his wide receiver core. The Green Bay Packers have not been clicking like that. But, we are accustomed to seeing Aaron Rodgers telling people, relax, I'm taking the Packers in this one. I think the Packers win this one, and definitely got to go with the over in this one, man. Two of the GOATs of our generation, two of the GOATs of, NFL history, to be honest here, going at it. We'll see who comes out on top. Tom Brady's going to be fired up. We talked about the broken tablets. He on a mission here. He's having his problems at home with wifey. There's a lot going on here, okay? A lot of pressure on this guy right now, and he's 45 years old. Testosterone dipping, levels getting low. You know what I'm saying? We going to see what my man Tom Brady can do. He did put up his second best statistical season last year, so age is definitely not slowing that man down one time, but it seems like everything else around him might be. I'm taking the Packers, and I'm going to take the over.
This is the toughest game for me to choose because, it's who do you choose against? Do you choose against Aaron Rodgers? Do you choose against Tom Brady? You're going to see a lot of great running backs in this game with Leonard Fournette, A.J. Dillon, and Aaron Jones. I just think Green Bay finds a way. I don't know why, but I think Green Bay finds a way. I'm going to take Green Bay, and I'm going to take the over 42 as well. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, in the chat, if you guys have any fantasy football questions, to drop those in the chat now because we are going to answer a few of those questions as soon as we get through the remaining games. Next game on the slate, it's going to be the Atlanta Falcons, who are 0-2. They're headed to Seattle. Seattle is 1-1. Seattle's a 1-point favorite. The over-under in this game is 42.5. I love Atlanta in this game. Atlanta has shown me a lot. They have fought in both of their first two games. They've come close to winning both of those first two games. I think today they finally get their first win. It's going to be difficult in Seattle. As we know, Seattle's not an easy place to play. I'm going to take the over 42.5 as well.
Yeah, I like the over in this one too. I mean, pending on the Seahawks, man. Last week they struggled putting up points. Last I looked at the score, they were being shut out. I like the Falcons, and shout out Drake London, man. Balled out last week for my fantasy team. He was on the bench though. I ended up losing by 7. He put up 24.5 in my league. I'm going with the Falcons in this one. I think I'm gonna take the under, man. The Seahawks, they just can't get it together. But maybe it's just, last week was kind of an anomaly because Geno Smith, he has been playing pretty decent football for them. And they do have a quarterback problem, I will say, over there for sure. Like they need to go and address that in the draft this upcoming year for sure. But I think Geno Smith can do some things. In this one, I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take the Falcons though.
It's going to be an interesting matchup because I feel like this could be like a 17-10 game, but it also could be like a 35-28 game.
Right.
You just don't know which one of these teams' defenses are actually going to show up or not show up.
I'm going to keep my eye on that game, though, because Marcus Mariota is a very interesting player at the quarterback position right now, and I really want to see what he can do. It's the same kind of situation as Mitchell Trubisky and Jameis Winston are in, getting that second opportunity. And right now it seems like Mitchell Trubisky, he can't capitalize on that. I love the weapons he has over there. And same thing, like with the Falcons, I think they got good weapons with Pitts and with Drake London out there. I think they do have the weapons to be able to get vertical. And I just want to see what Marcus Mariota does in these next couple of games. So I'm going to really keep my eye on that 4 o'clock game.
Yeah, and like I said, Mariota's been putting up some good fantasy numbers as far as, being able to get some yards on the ground, some rushing touchdowns, and passing the ball as well. So it's just a matter of him not turning it over and finding a way to get Kyle Pitts involved, who's having a rough start to the season, averaging like 3 fantasy points over the first 2 games. So very interesting. So we're going to move into Sunday Night Football. The San Francisco 49ers, who are 1-1, I believe they're getting George Kittle back. They are 1.5 point favorites.
I'm about to turn into a powerhouse on this fantasy league one time. I got George Kittle back in the lineup.
It's scary. It is very
scary.
My
man Cole Kmet, whatever. Come out of here, man.
They're headed to Denver. Denver's also 1-1. The over-under is 44.5. This game kicks off at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is another tough one for me because both of these teams are supposed to be good. Both of these teams have been a little bit questionable so far through the first 2 games. It's a home game, Denver. This is tough.
Hey, while you think about it, let me ask you something. Would you have started Trey Lance this early and started trying to ship Jimmy Garoppolo out of town like the way they were trying to?
No, I would have given it one more season. I would have given it one more season. I think they're a better team
with Jimmy Garoppolo at the quarterback position at this moment in time. Lance has, the upside, I feel like, to be higher ceiling, be a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo at some point. But I don't know what they were seeing in practice, but to try to shop Jimmy Garoppolo when you are a contender with Jimmy Garoppolo in that San Francisco 49ers defense and their offensive weapons that they have with Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. Running back position is solidified over there. It seems like Shanahan can run the ball with anybody. It really don't matter. But to bring in a young quarterback within that, I think that was a mistake by them. I want to say the football gods bless them, but maybe this is a blessing in disguise, for lack of a better term, because I think that they're a better team with Jimmy Garoppolo at the quarterback position.
And it's tough because I feel like they're always dealing with injuries at the running back position in San Francisco.
Yeah.
It's just been super
brutal. Could be the style of play, They're very reliant upon their running backs, and they go between the tackles a lot. You got to be a physical runner to run, with the 49ers in the Shanahan system.
I'm going to take the Denver Broncos to cover. I think San Francisco, yeah. I'm going to take the Denver Broncos. I'm going to take the under 44.5.
Yeah, I think the question here is also how much impact is George Kittle going to bring to this offense that has not scored a lot of points in the first 2 weeks? If it's the same kind of vibes, man, slow, methodical offense that's not really putting up a ton of touchdowns, I got to take the Broncos in this. So I'm going to wait till I see it. If the 49ers can come out here and prove they can score points with Kittle back in the lineup and with Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm for the quarterback position, then possibly next week I'll see how I'm going to pick with the 49ers. But in this week, I'm going to take the Broncos outright. Over under 44.5. Probably it's going to be right at that. I'm going to say we get just under the 44.5 and we get to about 44, 24-20 type of game.
And that would be an interesting game. It's going to be fun to watch, at least to see Kittle back and to see if this Broncos team could turn things around with the head coach blunders so far early in the season for the Denver Broncos. And the game everybody's been waiting. They
hired somebody too. The Broncos just brought somebody in, like an assistant to help out with time management or something like that.
It wouldn't be the first time I've seen weird stuff like that happen. We had a situation here in Washington once. Remember when we called the guy who was calling numbers in bingo to come in and take care of things?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a whole other story. But the game that most of you in the chat here have been foaming at the mouth for is Monday Night Football, Awthentik's New York Giants, who are 2-0. They are a 1-point favorite, and they are headed to Dallas to face the Cowboys. Awthentik, tell me what you got.
Man, I got momentum on my side. I've got a couple superstitions in my bag. Giants are going to be coming out in all white on Monday. If you are going to this Giants game, make sure you wear all white because that'll be an incredible vibe in the stands if everyone is wearing that all white. We got to do everything we possibly can to be able to stop this backup quarterback in Cooper Rush, who came out last week against the Bengals on that first drive and looked ready and prepared. I think a lot of people are thinking this might be an easier game because they're dealing with the backup quarterback out there. I'm not sleeping on Cooper Rush, man. He can go out here and do damage. And this is the other thing, too. In his first start, when he was with the Dallas Cowboys and they took upon the Minnesota Vikings, it was in a primetime game, and he was not scared. They got the win. We all know the issues with Daniel Jones in primetime. He's 0 of 8 in primetime games. 0 for 7 was the worst start by any quarterback in NFL history as far as primetime games go. I still got my Giants in this game, man. And I think it's going to be a close one. We're going to rely on this running game to try to get things moving and then open up maybe some play action in the passing game. We'll see what the Giants do with the wide receiver position. Coming into this game, we got a banged-up Kadarius Toney dealing with a hamstring injury. What's new? And we don't know what they're going to do with Galladay. I think there's a possible chance that they might sneak in Darius Slayton in this game to be able to stretch the field from the X and Y wide receiver position. We'll see. I think it's going to be a close one. I'm taking my Giants. I'm taking the over, and I'm taking the Giants to cover this one, man. I do think it's going to be a bit of a close game. Cowboys favored by 1 or Giants favored by 1?
Giants are favored by 1.
Giants cover that 1. Let's get this dub, man. Y'all know what it is.
I am going to take the New York Giants as well. I think the Giants are going to cover. I think it's going to be a close game. It's tough. I was leaning towards more like the Cowboys today, but I think I'm going to stick with the Giants. You said the word momentum. I think this Giants team is prepared themselves to win these type of games, divisional matchups. By the way that those first 2 games went, I think that's going to be a good preparation for them in this Dallas Cowboys matchup. I'm going to take the New York Giants. I'm going to take the over 39. I think Daniel Jones and the Giants find a way to end their red zone woes. You might have to see a defensive touchdown for the New York Giants in this game.
That would be nice. Xavier McKinney, man, all 5 interceptions at home.
Interesting. Kai says, "Come on, Beard. Have you not learned by now?" No.
Spike don't care.
All right. That is going to wrap up Rapid Fire Bars. It is time to answer some final fantasy football questions in the chat, and then we will let you guys go and set your lineups before it is too late. We want to thank everybody for joining us as always. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Shout out to everybody who's watching us on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and of course here on YouTube. All right, let me just scroll up really quick. I know I saw some questions when I asked for some questions. All right.
Yo, this wild. Before you highlight a question, is this Randy Gregory talking about Dallas Cowboys going to get 9 sacks? Come on, dog. Come on, dog.
That's a lot. I almost said that's a lot of sacks, but I was going to refrain from
that's
saying
a lot.
All right, I'm just getting to your questions really, really fast. I don't want to miss any.
I got one on Twitch if you want me to pull that one up.
Yeah, pull that one up on Twitch before I get to this next one. Would you take Juju, Devonta Smith, or Adam Thielen in the flex? I'm Xing out Thielen. I don't know what's going on with that situation. I think I'm taking Devonta Smith in that situation.
Ooh, that is a tough one. Yeah, I go Devonta Smith too, and possibly Juju. If you kind of split on that, I'll go Juju as well too. I think that the Chiefs got a decent matchup today. Going to be a high-scoring game.
I see our boy Paulie wants to know. He's got some Washington fantasy questions. Scary Terry or Jahan Dotson? I think Jahan Dotson has a big game today just because of the matchups. Even though Scary Terry has traditionally fried Darius Slay in the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm going to go Jahan Dotson in this game.
Yeah, I like Jahan Dotson too. You talked about the history with Darius Slay and Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin has the most yards of any active wide receiver right now since he's been in the league against the Philadelphia Eagles. So who knows? He might break out as well too. But Slay is playing some revived football right now. He had a fantastic week last week. I believe it was 2 interceptions. Could have had a third too. But yeah, I like Jahan Dotson, man. He seems to be a red zone threat for you guys. And once you get closer to the goal line, seems to get a lot of targets. So I go Jahan Dotson in this one.
Marjorie wants to know Allen Robinson or Higby in the flex spot.
That's
going back and forth. I'm going Higby. Higby's got 20 targets in 2 games.
Yeah, I like that, man. I'll take Higby as well. I mean, Robinson has been struggling to get the targets over there. They had a compilation of the routes he was running. It looked like Jason Garrett was calling the plays over there. So I go Higby as well.
James Jones wants to know Saquon Barkley and DeAndre Swift, flex Derrick Henry or Rashad Bateman.
Oh, okay. Rashad Bateman would have to stay on the bench. I mean, Derrick Henry. Wow. Who's the other running back? He's got Saquon and DeAndre Swift. Okay, so he's got them starting, and he's thinking about Derrick Henry or Bateman in the flex. I go Henry.
I'm going to go Bateman in this one. Bateman has proven to be Lamar's go-to guy. I think Bateman continues to have big games. Big shout-out to Bobby!
Bobby!
What's going on, Bobby?
Hey,
Great
Bobby
to see
keeps
you.
that caps locks key on deck. Every time he pulls up in the chat, I notice he's on caps lock. Shout out to Bobby one time in the building, man. Been rocking with us now for I want to say 3 seasons now. I want to say Bobby been rocking with us.
Kevin is playing in a deep 2-quarterback fantasy football league. Geno Smith or Cooper Rush?
Geno Smith going up against
Broncos.
The Broncos. Is it the Broncos? Like that just happened.
It did just happen. I'm making that up. It's the Falcons.
Yeah, it's the Falcons. That's right. I didn't have it off the head either. So, I'm going Geno Smith.
I'm going Geno Smith also.
Yeah, I'm going Geno Smith.
I don't know why I'm going Geno Smith. Paulie wants to know Antonio Gibson or Cordero Patterson. That's a tough one.
Yeah. I got Antonio Gibson in my lineup today, but I am kind of strapped at the running back position. I like Cordell Patterson's matchup, man. Seahawks? Coin flip. We could go Cordell Patterson, though.
I'm going to go Cordell Patterson. He plays more snaps than Antonio Gibson. They're very similar players, and I like Antonio Gibson a lot, but it's too difficult for me to go Antonio Gibson when I know Cordell Patterson is getting that volume. It's just too much. Too much volume.
Yeah.
Duran Osman. Miles Sanders or Tony Pollard? Miles Sanders. Got to go Sanders for me.
Miles Sanders or Tony Pollard? Coin flip for me, man. The Eagles might be playing from ahead, might not have a lot of rushing going on late in that game for them. But I don't think you could go wrong either way. I'd go Miles Sanders, volume.
That's a tough one too. That's a tough one. But I think you, like Awthentik said, I gotta get. You know what? I need an Awthentik and The Beard coin.
Ooh, I like
the
that.
heads would be Awthentik and the tails would be Beard, or vice versa.
Yeah,
we'll just
I like
flip
that.
up.
I like that.
Yeah. But that's gonna wrap it up for today. Any last thoughts, ideas, roster changes?
My friends be texting me like fantasy questions during the show. I'm like, we do a fantasy show. You could just pull up, man. Let me tell y'all something about friends, bro. I don't know what kind of dope they be smoking. Like, you asking me a fantasy question Sunday
While
morning,
we're doing a fantasy
11
show.
a.m. when we doing the parlay. Like, come on, man. But, yeah, man, I'm just hoping my Giants could get a win, man. 3-0 will be amazing. I did look up the statistics. It was 76%, man, of teams who go to 3-0 get to the playoffs. That would be an amazing feat for the Giants to get to 3-0 right now. While this offense is still trying to really get some chemistry and really figure out who are going to be the dynamic playmakers moving forward. And I think we got some great matchups in the NFC East this week, man. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing this game at 1 o'clock. Couple 4 o'clock games I definitely want to keep my eyes on. I talked about that Atlanta game. I really want to see what Marcus Mariota can do. And then the matchup between the Carolina Panthers and who was that? The Saints. I want to see that matchup as well between Kamara and CMC. I think that's going to be a great matchup as well, man. But my lineups are set, man. Right now it's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the dot, 12:34 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got about 60 in the building, man. We appreciate all y'all pulling up to this episode of the Parlay. Y'all know what it is, man. What about you, Beard? You got any final thoughts on this one?
No, I want Washington to be competitive today. I want Washington to be competitive today. I got my eyes on that Buffalo Miami game. And I got my eyes on Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. It's interesting to see how two of the best quarterbacks in the game could do it, and do it with who they have on the field. So I think that's going to be an interesting, psychological battle between those two quarterbacks. And I'm interested to see, how bad the Colts, if Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman can find a way to compete with Patrick Mahomes over there. I think that's an important game for them. I'm looking for the Houston Texans to finally get their first win.
Yeah, you need that. You need that. Did you put any money on that 4.5?
I didn't. But
you should, man.
My word is worth more than the dollars. I want people to take what I say seriously. So they've been close, man.
Your richness comes from life, man. Your richness comes from life.
So big shout out to everybody in the chat. We appreciate all the love and all the support. I saw somebody say it. I'm going to repeat it. Good luck to your favorite teams and your fantasy teams this Sunday. And don't forget to check out that Manscaped. 20% off. AHEB is the code. It's in the description. And it's free shipping worldwide. Craig. I'm going to let Awthentik take us out one last time.
Facts, man. Y'all know what it is, man. Best of luck today in all your fantasy matchups. I hope you get to the bag early. I'm going to try to do that myself. Looking for a big game out of George Kittle. Y'all know what it is over here at Awthentik and The Beard, man. Left side.
Strong side. Biceps in the chat.
Biceps in the chat. Y'all know what it is. We couldn't do this without y'all, man. I can't say that enough. Appreciate all y'all pulling up early in the morning to get your fantasy lineups locked in with your two boys. Man, y'all know what it is here, man. Keep raising that bar. Keep living those dreams. We're going to have a little bit of a adjusted schedule this week for the Giant Overreaction with the Giants playing Monday night, so stay tuned. We'll drop something in the community for that so y'all know when we're going live. And don't forget to catch us on Tuesday, man. We're going to be doing the recap of all these games. These two fantastic NFC East matchups. It's going to be a great show. Definitely pull up a chair, son. Put one in the air, son. Shout out to Nas one time. Y'all be good, man. Y'all know what it is. Keep raising that bar. Be good. See y'all soon. Peace.
Don't care.